ready to shatter the status quo and unleash your leadership potential? Sick of the same old tired leadership advice? Well, get ready to disrupt your thinking and transform your leadership skills. Welcome to Sound Leadership with DJ, the podcast that's about to challenge everything you thought you knew about leadership. Join DJ as he dives into the trenches with industry trailblazers, exploring the real issues leaders face today. From innovative strategies to proven techniques, we'll uncover the secrets to taking your leadership from good to great. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and equipped to conquer new heights. Join the movement and let's redefine leadership together. This is Sound Leadership with DJ. Leadership redefined.
Dr. Pete, nobody's seen that yet. That has not even been premiered. This is the first time I've actually put that out to the public. So look at you breaking boundaries again, helping Sound Leadership with DJ moving forward. What'd you think about the new intro?
I thought it was nice. You did pretty good, man.
Hey, I I saw a shot of you in there as well.
Yeah, growth is beautiful, isn't it?
Listen, Sound Leadership with DJ is getting ready to launch season 3, which is amazing. We've worked, you've been on a couple episodes. You hosted my 10th episode. To think that Sound Leadership with DJ is getting ready to launch season 3 is amazing. But thank you. While we're on this hiatus, me and you started to kicking a can around of just doing these impromptus just to discuss leadership. And one of the things that's been heavy on my heart, at least really heavy over this last week, is should leaders stay in toxic environments? And I know I posed that to you and you was like, we got to talk about that. So the question is, should leaders stay in a toxic environment?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. It depends. Some toxic environments are situational, due to a particular individual or, some short-term challenge. So it's a problem if you see a path forward, toward a healthier environment. But if you don't see a path forward, then you got to bounce. There's a couple other things too I think about when I think about a toxic environment. Is there an opportunity for change? Can we weather that storm, position ourselves to influence the culture, and create a positive impact, positive change? So as a leader, if you feel that you can address it and you've made an assessment of the culture and you feel you can address that toxicity through your leadership, through various reasons, through various methods like conflict resolution, maybe some structural improvements, it might be worth staying. Sometimes I know myself, there's a commitment to the team.
Yeah.
Do I leave this team in this toxic environment, or again, do I weather this storm to, and advocate for them and implement changes that'll help protect them and improve the work environment? So those are some key areas, and that's for reasons to stay. But if it's toxic and it's not situational, and this is something that is continual and perpetual, then your health and your safety is more important.
But when is toxicness ever acceptable, right? So when you say situational, I need to nip that in the bud. And as a leader, if somebody's treating me inappropriately, I have a problem with that. And I'm going to, like you say, attempt to nip that in the bud. But I think that's what leaders do. And what I've seen, right? I'm a nurse home administrator. You're a nurse home administrator. What I've seen 3 to 6 times this week, I know it's a wide number, but in the last week, an administrator, an executive, a CEO say, I want to leave, but I have to give notice and I have to do it the right way. And I say, you do. And I get it. And I respect it. But there should never be a point where you're losing your hair or going home and you're having disagreements with your wife or your kids in an act of saving face for that job. If that job is going to give you a bad referral or a bad review, they're going to do it whether you last the 2 weeks or whether you quit without your notice. And I think that's what makes me different. Maybe call it a millennial manager or a millennial leader, as they say. Here's the deal. if you're in a bad situation and it is not getting better, I feel you have to get out. I don't think there's a way around it. If you've tried to work with whoever and they're not working in your benefit, your mental health is more important, because what I've seen, you're a respiratory therapist. I'm a registered nurse. And what I've seen is people have strokes at a young age. People have heart attacks at a young age. I don't know about you, but I can't have a heart attack due to a stressful situation at the job. I can't have a CVA, a stroke, due to a stressful situation at the job. So I just have to be mindful of that. And I'll share, right? I was in a toxic environment. You know, I worked for a company. They should remain nameless. But within the first 30 days, I knew this job wasn't for me. Knew it right away. I went and told that administrator, I said, look, ma'am, this isn't for me. He said, oh, I can change. I can change. And then abusive relationships happen. I can change. I can change. 30-day mark came, and I was like, you know what? I just need to quit. And that person said, no, please don't quit again. I promise you, I'm working on myself. I'm going to change. 60-day mark came. I was still sitting there with egg on my face, being abused, and them still telling me they can change. And it got to a point where I said, you know what? I'm going to have to make the change. I can't wait for you to make the change or realize you need to make the change. I'm going to make the change. So I had to quit that job, because what it was doing was it was impacting my mental health. And I was taking that anger and frustration home back to my family. I had a newborn at home. I was up late. I was stressed. I was losing weight, all within 60 days. That was crazy to me. So my answer to the question is no, you should never stay in a toxic environment. But Pete, I know you, like you said, you want to try to coach them through and all of this, but what do you do when that doesn't work?
I'm a little conservative in my approach, you know, because I'm always of the mentality that you never want to burn the bridge. But, you know, there are reasons that you should.
If they're burning you,
Wait, let me finish. There are reasons where you should leave, you know, almost practically immediately. And one would be your personal health and well-being. You don't want to sacrifice your personal health and well-being for the sake of a toxic environment. So that's not something you want to do. And plus, you know, again, within your 90 days, you mentioned, you know, within 30 days or 60 days, you know, you had an issue. I mean, 90 days is fair game. You know, you got, you know, they can let you go, you can let go, you know. So, but if at all possible, I like to work. I'm the type of guy that likes to work through the issues. But if it gets to the point where, you know, my personal health and well-being is at stake, then I choose my personal health and well-being. You know, I am a combat veteran that suffers with PTSD. You know, and so my mental well-being is of the utmost importance, because it does affect your home life. Now, I don't go home and yell at my wife, you know, no matter what my situation is.
Yeah.
I've been in toxic environments. But, you know, she's there as a helpmeet to me, and she's there to help work me through some of the stuff I'm going through. So when I'm weak, she's strong. When she's weak, I'm strong. So we have a healthy balance. But and it comes with growth. I'm 53 years old. You know, I'm not Generation Z or, you know, yeah, I'm 53 years old. So there's some maturity with age with handling toxic environment as well. For most, I'm not going to say all. For most,
you know, but
I would say to leave, if you're going to leave and not give your 30 days or your 30 days for most managers, it would need to be for something for personal health and well-being. Lack of support for change, that's another one. If you're making all kinds of effort and you're bringing those things to the forefront, and there's no change in sight, there's resistance to change. You know, it's time to make a decision. You know, do I stay and weather the storm and possibly affect my personal health and well-being in my home life, or do I leave? I think it's a personal decision. Everyone has their own breaking point, right?
Let me challenge you, because I have a different perspective. And I've had this, and as an administrator, as a leader, I've always had this perception. I've always thought, how come companies and businesses are allowed to treat you in a way that when they're done with you, they can terminate you? But when you treat them like a business, is bad juju. So hear me out. If you were to turn me, Dr. Pete, you're my boss. You wouldn't care if I had a doctor's appointment, had a surgery tomorrow. You would say this is in the best interest of the team. We have to move forward, and we would call that professional. But how come when I turn around and do the exact same thing in the best interest of me, my family, and what I got going on, it's not professional? Why is it when I do the exact same thing, what's in the best interest of me as a business, when I treat myself as a corporation, it is not professional? I'm one of the leaders who have, when people have put in their notice and just quit, I say, thank you. I understand. I respect it. You have to do what's best for you in that time and what you feel is best. Because once again, we've turned people. We didn't ask if they were getting surgery tomorrow. We didn't ask if they were behind on their bills. We said this is in the best interest of the company, and we have to protect the brand. So when somebody else doesn't, why do we look down on them?
We all do things for the company and stuff like that. But I do. I have pretty strong soft skills as well as hard skills.
Yeah.
So I don't ever terminate somebody without due cause
Well,
or
it's not
without
even
really
about due
looking at the
cause.
facts.
It's
Wait, without looking at the facts, and i.e. personal issues, and trauma in particular, because people suffering from trauma. As leaders, I think we lack in empathy, and we lead with a hard hand sometimes in the best interest of the company, and we don't realize if we take the time to deal with some of the trauma, or provide the resources for them with the trauma, we might have an employee for life. They'll be sold out. There is nothing. I know for my staff, there's nothing my staff won't do for me because I have very strong soft skills. I do have hard skills now. You got to have a healthy balance, and they know that level. They know, and I think, to your point, the leaders do it wrong. A lot of leaders do it wrong. And yes, some people just have this hard skill. Well, yep, it's in the benefit of the company. We got to let you go, but I don't think all leaders do it that way.
But it's not a hard or soft skill. When you got to term somebody, say you're downsizing, right? That's not a hard or soft skill. If your boss says
that's not.
today,
That's different. That's a different scenario.
But my point is though, right? I'm talking just terminations in a general, right? And so I apologize. I've gotten off this topic of the.
You didn't say merge. You didn't say mergers and stuff. No, that's a different ball game.
No, but the principle is
they come in with their own team. They come in with their own team, and they move you right on out the way.
But the principle is when you do what's best for you, why is it seen as a negative?
I can't answer that. Because
It's unfortunate.
People are selfish and they want what they want, and leaders have some leaders have a one-track mind, and almost type A personality type. Hey, what you can do for me? Well, you can't do anything for me. I'm mad now. I've been through some of that where my career was sort of stunted because the one that was leading me stunted my growth for fear of me being better than she was, and didn't know how to. Yeah, and so it was all about what I can do for her at the job, and she was not willing to bend to help me grow. So, and I vowed as a leader I'd never do that. So if you want to go for education, I'm all for it. Bye. You got to do what's best for you. I prefer a 2-week, 30-day notice. But I've had some that didn't give a good notice for good reason, family issues, whatever, trauma, FMLA, intimate and FMLA, all those different things that happen. And, as a boss, even those, I had one that just kind of left. And everybody was saying, oh, I can't believe she did that. They did all that. I can't believe that she did. I said, why don't we do a welfare check? Did a welfare check. This woman was admitted.
Wow.
And so to answer your point, DJ, the scenarios are endless and they're different for everyone. And everyone, back to toxicity, everyone have a different breaking point. How much are you willing to take before you say goodbye is different for everybody. And I think reasons to leave definitely on the top of the list. is personal health and well-being. If the toxicity is taking a toll on your mental, emotional, or physical health, it may be necessary for you to leave for your well-being, because that causes a whole new heap of things: heart attacks, asthma,
Yep.
stroke. It can lead to burnout, anxiety, and other health issues. The other reason for leave for me would be um, the the impact of my values. You
Yeah.
know, your values as an organization is different than my values, so we are improperly aligned. Typically, we try to get that in the interview process and in the orientation process. That's the time to
Now you know I
figure,
show up on my best behavior during that process.
you know, pretty much that's the time usually that both parties, both entities are figuring out, do we mesh? Is this something for you, values? That's why you get the 90-day time to figure that out. Um, if that toxic environment is forcing you to compromise your values,
Yeah.
or is negatively affecting your leadership style and effectiveness, it's time to move on. You know, you got to move on, because I'm a Christian, and so my values are Christian based. My leadership
Yeah.
values are Christian based. When it comes to servant leadership, emotional intelligence, I base that based on my Christian upbringing and values. And if
Yeah.
any company I work for violates that, I am gone.
I respect that. I respect that. I can't pass any farther without saying, I have a webinar coming up with Dr. Renee Roberts Turner, and this webinar is called "Play to Win: Elevating Your Leadership Game Against Burnout," where we're going to teach you how to kick burnout to the curb. And a big portion of burnout is toxicity at the workplace. So this is a free webinar. It is, right? This is a free webinar. It is nursing CE approved. So if you're a nurse, you will get RN, LPN, or APRN, CE. This is once again a free webinar for anyone. It is for leaders who want to kick burnout to the curve. And as Dr. Peter said, right, and I've said, right, one of the big things is burnout that leads to toxicity in the workplace. Your boss not understanding what you got going on. More and more is piling up on your plate. That leads to burnout. You're trying to reach out for help. You're trying to hire staff. It's just not working. And your boss is like, look, you got to get it done. This is what's expected of you. So it's going to lead to burnout. So I do have this webinar coming up with Dr. Renee Roberts Turner. This is going to be next week, September 25th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is free. You can find how to register in the show notes here, and really just come prepared just to be energized and learn how to kick burnout to the curve. So I'll get off my soapbox in my commercial. Pete wasn't expecting that.
But
Just
burnout. I talk a little bit about burnout, and I think the key about burnout, from my perspective, is strategy.
yeah.
Um, you know, you need time to refuel.
Yep.
You need. I like to use the Eisenhower matrix for my daily tasks and goals. There are things that I can do now. There are things that I can save for later. There are things I can delegate, and there are things that are on my plate that doesn't even move the bar forward or change performance or increase productivity. I don't even know why I'm doing, so I'm gonna get rid of it. So
See, listen, I think
so
we all over there, brother.
yeah, and so I'm really working on with my department managers on that task, because they are in the nursing home business. You're constantly inundated with things that happen. You come into work and you have one goal in mind, and everything gets thrown to the curb with an emergency or something urgent. So that Eisenhower matrix deliberates, or kind of tells you between what's urgent and what's important, what needs to be done now, what can be done later, and how you can manage that. I think one of the biggest things some leaders have a problem with is delegating. They want to own it. They want to do it. You can
Listen,
still own it, but give it somebody else to do and help somebody else grow. You
the
know,
problem is people don't trust. And so
yeah.
when you say delegate, we first of all, that's one of the things I dislike about, dare I say, the field of leadership. Right? Where do we get leadership training? Right? And people get out of school with these MBAs, these DHAs, these DBAs, but they don't truly take leadership class to understand what leadership is. And when you talk about just that little caveat, the little slither of delegation, they don't know how to delegate to the right person at the right time and give them the right task. It's so much that goes into delegation. It's not just me calling you up and saying, "Hey, Dr. P, go to the store for me." Did I tell you what to buy? that tell you how to get there, which route to take, what store to go to. I
Well,
just gave you a task and think
let's
you knew how to do it.
let's talk about it in healthcare. You're a nurse. I'm a respiratory therapist. We've been to countless codes. And when I was in acute care, we were in codes. In a code setting, there are assigned duties to people that know how to do the job. Like, you're not going to have somebody else intubate that does not know how to intubate. You can't delegate to that person. Maybe they're good at starting IV, so they will start IV. So it's part of knowing your
Mhm.
team and helping your team grow and training your team, and then you can delegate to them. You can't delegate to somebody who doesn't know anything, who doesn't know how to do the task, unless you're going to be by their side and walk them through and help them through it. Like in the Army, we used to say, see one, do one, teach one. You see it first, you do it the next, and then you teach somebody else.
Yep.
So, but back to toxicity, man. We kind of went off on a tangent
Well,
on
that's the
your,
joke. This is unscripted. It's 20
on
minutes.
your
We at the
burnout.
20-minute mark already.
That's
We're at the 20-minute
I
mark
have,
already. So
I think I have a video on my YouTube on the Eisenhower Matrix somewhere. But yeah, the toxic environment, from the leader's perspective, not being able to handle the toxic environment. Yeah, for me, it's personal health, lack of support from my boss and higher, and support in organization. And then the biggest one for me, other than personal health and well-being, would be my personal values. You never want to
hey,
work somewhere that doesn't align with your personal values anyway. It's
so
not
many
good.
of us are doing it
Yeah.
for a paycheck. But Pete, we are at our time. We are at our 20 minutes. We said we would keep these segments at 20 minutes. They're just little bites, right? And thank you to the people who are dropping things in the comments. Thank you to the people who watched us
I'm
on
interested to hear.
LinkedIn,
I'm interested to
Facebook.
read what they're saying. If anybody's commenting and what they feel about toxic environment, what would they do? I'm interested to see that.
Listen, I think people, as I mentioned earlier, right? We get so ingrained in, right? We don't want to do things the wrong way, and we sit in these jobs because we feel stuck. I talked to an administrator earlier today. He said, "I am in rural America. The next nursing home is over 75 miles away. I am stuck. What else do I do?" And I said, we got to
Move.
look at what else you're good at, right? We're great to put up things while we can't move, while we can't do this, right? But I said, what else are you good at? Let's tap into that. We get wrapped up in the money, right? Administrators, executives, they can make decent money. You get wrapped up in it, and then you become a slave to that dollar, and it keeps you in that kind of toxic environment. So if you can't lead a toxic environment because of the income, we gotta reevaluate some things, because once again, you should never be in an environment due to the income, but yet you're mentally abused, taxed when you get home. You're not you. What do they say with the Snickers, right? You're not you until you get the Snickers. So, Dr. Pete, how can they reach you?
Um, I'm Dr. Pete at Instagram. I am Dr. Pete on Facebook. Dr. Peterson Merville on LinkedIn. My YouTube, I have over 400 followers. It's IMDRPETE. So they can reach me there. All my socials is I'm Dr. Pete, so they can reach me there somehow. And I have a website, imdrpete.com, for those that need leadership coaching or life coaching. Um, I can help them grow in that area. So it's
Hey,
it's been a wonderful thing. These little segments are pretty cool. We get to hit a sensitive topic, get in, get out. You're pretty animated about this one, bro.
because
This
listen,
one got
this
you
took
turned
off
on.
on
I can't
LinkedIn.
even get a word in.
Listen, it took off, like it went viral on LinkedIn, and then in the administrator groups, right? It did pretty good, 40 something, 40, 50 something like. So it's a passion of mine because I was in a toxic environment, and I have a different view on it than most people. But I want to stay true to our little segments, and thank you to, we had over 10 people kind of approach us over time as we went live. So I'm at your healthcare consultant. You can definitely follow us at Sound Leadership with DJ. Sound Leadership with DJ Season 3 will be premiering in October with a new intro, outro, fun guest, and we'll continue to do these segments. I think me and Dr. P has agreed to do them every 2 weeks, and this is our second week in a row, so we've made it happen. We stuck to our word. But thank you everyone for joining.
One more. If you are someone who is suffering in a toxic environment, or you are suffering with some sort of trauma, there is help for you. There are many organizations that provide mental help for those that need it. Do not go to work and not take care of your mental health. That is very important to you. And it is very important actually to the organization that you work for, that you come to work at your best. So take the time.
No, hold on. You can't, hold on. See, I'm trying to end this. What you can't say is what you just said to me was putting the organization first. No, you have to take care of you.
We're not putting the organization first. We're not putting the organization first. But what I'm saying is it benefits the organization, any organization where you stay or go, that you are at the top of your game. So whether you leave a toxic environment or not, take care of your personal and mental health.
Boom.
Thanks for tuning into Sound Leadership with DJ. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. Share your favorite takeaways with a friend or colleague. Leave a review and let us know what you think. And remember, leadership is not just a title, it's a choice. Choose to lead with purpose, passion, and impact. See you on the next episode.